Hello boys and girls, welcome to Mrs. Bandu's Math Movies. This is for Course 3, Lesson 2-5, Multiplying and Dividing Rational Numbers. Our objectives are to multiply and divide fractions and mixed numbers and to solve problems involving rational numbers. Okay, so we'll start off. Remember, fractions are a form of rational numbers. In fact, if a number is a rational number, it can be expressed as a fraction a over b, as long as b is not 0. Okay, so the first thing we want to do here is we can multiply numerators and multiply denominators. So we'd multiply 5 times 4 and 12 times 7. That's really what we want to do. And notice that we have the negative sign out here because this was negative 4/7. Okay, so again, we keep that negative sign here, and we can do some cross-canceling. Divide the numerator and denominator by their greatest common factor of 3. So we see where the 4 and the 12 have been crossed out. By 4. I don't know why I put 3 there, excuse me. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. I think that's why I wrote the 3 there. I'm sorry. Okay, so what basically that does, we've actually done some simplifying within the problem so that at the end of the problem, our answer is more likely to be in simplest form. Also, if it's not, the numbers will be smaller to work with. So again, I'm keeping my negative sign because the positive times a negative is a negative. 5 times 1 is 5, and 3 times 7 is 21. So my simplified answer is negative 5/21, or negative 5 over 21. Again, this is what we call cross-canceling up here. And we do that when a numerator of one fraction and the denominator of another, usually anyway, do have common factors, and we can simplify them within the problem. Okay. All right. Let's solve this equation by multiplying. Let me get this a little better focus, perhaps. There we go. Okay. 3/4 y plus 2 equals 2 1/8. So the first thing we want to do is subtract 2 from each side, because we want to have this term isolated. So really, I would like to see that in your work. Again, when they pre-print it on the paper, it's not always exactly the way I would like to have it presented. We will talk about this a little bit in class as well. So certainly if you have questions, bring them in. But the next thing we actually want to do is we are left with, after our first simplification, 3/4 y is equal to 1/8. What we really want to do is divide by 3/4. So we're going to multiply each side by the reciprocal of 3/4. Because to divide by a fraction, multiply by its reciprocal. So we're going to have 4/3 times 3/4. You can't hardly see that here, but that's what that is. And 4/3 times 1/8. And my y is still in here as well. Notice that everything here cross cancels out to 1s, which is in fact my goal, because remember, I want the y to be isolated. Okay, here the 4 and the 8 cross cancel by 4s. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, so what that leaves me after all of that is 1/3, 1/3 times 1/2, or 1/2. Okay, simplify a step further. 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 2 is 6. So my final answer is y equals 1/6. Okay, so again, first step would be to show subtracting 2 from each side of the equation so that we keep each side balanced. Remember, we treat each equally. To divide by 3/4 to make that turn into a 1, we're going to multiply each side by its reciprocal, which is going to be 4/3. Okay, we cross-canceled, and then we multiplied. In simplest form, my answer is y equals 1/6. Okay, All right, so here are a few quick check questions for you. Again, you always have the opportunity to stop and do them now or come back later, whichever you prefer. Okay, going on to example number 3. 1 and 2 went kind of quickly there. I didn't realize it was 3 already. Dividing rational numbers. A scarf designer has 13 5/8 yards of fabric. Each scarf uses 2 1/6 yards of fabric. How many scarves can the designer make? You need to find out how many 2 1/6 yard pieces are there in this amount. So we're going to take 13 5/6 and divide it by 2 1/6. So the first thing we're going to want to do here is write the mixed numbers as fractions. Okay, so remember we can do this by saying 6 times 13 plus 5. That gives me 83 over 6. 6 times 2 plus 1 gives me 13 over 6. So we're going to write the mixed numbers as improper fractions. Remember, an improper fraction is a fraction whose numerator is larger than its denominator. Okay. Now, since I'm wanting to divide by 13/6, I'm going to multiply by its reciprocal, which is 6/13. So I do rewrite this as multiplication by the reciprocal here. The 6's cross cancel to 1s, so 83 times 1 is 83. And then 1 times 13 is 13. Okay. Then to write as a mixed number, remember we want to take 83 divided by 13. Okay, that's going to go in 6 times. Let me double check what 6 times 13 is. So 6 times 3 is 18. 6 and 1 is 7, so that's 78. We have 5 left over, so our fraction then, remember, is 5/13. So 6 5/13 is the answer to the math question. Since you cannot make 5/13 of a scarf, the designer can only make 6 scarves. So here is where sometimes the mathematical answer that you get is not the answer to the question being asked. Okay, so you want to be careful that you, in fact, read and understand whether or not you're going to need a whole number answer, or is it reasonable to have a fraction or mixed number answer. Okay, and you can check for reasonableness as well. If we take 3 5/6 and round to 14, and 2 1/6 and round that to 2, 14 divided by 2 is 7. That's pretty close to 6, so we know our answer should be reasonable. The answer of 6 is reasonable. And here's that third quick check question. So if you'll have these 3 completed by the next time we meet in class, we'll go over them. Certainly bring in any questions you have, and I look forward to seeing you then.